All right, on today's episode, let's take a look at the lines for the Avalanche in game one of their first round matchup with the Dallas Stars and compare it to the lines as they stand right now. And while it's way too early to hit a panic button, it's never too early to ask questions. So let's do that on a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, then join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with me one-on-one. I get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast like we will do a little bit later. The Athletic is nothing like saying it's the offseason when you start ranking jerseys. And the Athletic did that. They gave the best and worst jerseys for every team in the league. And, of course, that includes the Avalanche. So I figured I would throw out mine as well as the people on subtext because that's always a good conversation starter. And I decided to wear maybe the most polarizing jersey in Avalanche history, and that is their Outdoor Air Force game. So am I tipping my hand here? But which one could it be? Could it be my favorite? Could it be the worst? If you're familiar with the show, maybe you know where I'm going to go with this. And maybe this isn't even on my list. So we'll do that in a little bit. And then I want to talk about Mackenzie Blackwood for a particular reason. So we'll do that in a little bit. But where I wanted to start today was just looking at the rosters just as not as well, I guess as in terms of where things stood at the really towards the end of the season, really post trade deadline, because that's your team. That's the team you're going forward with in the playoffs. And look at that roster, those lines, and compare it to right now. And yeah, do I think the Avalanche are going to have a good team? Yes, I do. Are they a playoff team? Yes, they are. Is this roster finished yet? No. And the big glaring issue is the fourth line. And so I wanted to kind of throw this out there and say, like, there's still work to be done here. And that's no secret. But I wanted to bring, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'll bring up the two lines. We'll do one at a time. And it's not, like I said in the opening, it's not making me hit a panic button because we're in July. So no, like this roster is not done. There's a lot of teams whose rosters are not done yet. There's a lot of free agents that have not been signed yet. Everybody's wondering about Kiviranta and if he's coming back, and which I would love that. Maybe he does, maybe he does. We talked about that in an episode last week. But just seeing the visual of it, it makes you kind of want to light a fire under the Avalanche and say, like, wow, I understand there's a long way to go in the offseason. What is the answer? What is the solution? So that's it. All right, it's the off season. We're having technical difficulties. So I want to go through last year's first. So I'm going to bring that up here. All right. So these are the lines that were starting. This was the starting lineup for the lines for game one of their first round matchup with Dallas. So this is before Landeskog got there, obviously. And you look at this, and that I mean, it's always like you're looking back, man, if they could have just gotten past that first round. Not that, the NHL playoffs are a gauntlet. They're very difficult. And so many people were like, it's just unfair for a first team to be out of the first round. That is what it is. But this is a good, solid team. And, your first line of Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Nashis, your second line of Nichushkin, Brock Nelson, Jonathan Drouin started on that second line, your third line of Kiviranta, Coyle, and Colton, and then your fourth line of Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, and Logan O'Connor. Your defense goes Taves and Makar, Ryan Lindgren, and Josh Manson started on your second pairing. Sam Girard, Eric Johnson was your third pairing. And then obviously the lumberyard with Blackwood and Wedgwood in goal. That's a very nice, well-rounded depth team. No doubt about it. The Avs set themselves up to have a very good deep run in the playoffs. That's what that team was designed to do. And you look at that, and where is, I mean, you could say your third pairing on defense with Eric Johnson being there is maybe your weakest spot. And I know some people are shouting Sam Girard too, but for a third pairing, that is not a bad third pairing. And even your depth here, because that this is going to be the focus. Your depth on your forward lines, Kiviranta, Coyle, and Colton, that's a great line. Kelly, Drury, and O'Connor, that's a great line. Great line. All of that just bodes well. And you just ran into a bad 10-minute stretch in game 7, where you lost it. I think forever it will be, man, if they could have gotten past that first round, how far could this team have gotten? You know, there's other good teams, and I'm not trying to take away from other good teams in the playoffs, but you just felt good about how that team was constructed. Now, when you look at the team that they have so far, and let's bring that up. And here's the changes. So your first line remains the same, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Nashis. Your second line, now Gabe Landeskog is in there with Brock Nelson and Shuskin. And we've said it many times, that top six is great. Your third line as it stands right now, you would have to say is Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, and Ross Colton. Okay, I can, even with Logan O'Connor out, and again, this is, I didn't put O'Connor in here because he is not, we don't know exactly when he's coming back. We know he's not going to start the year. That is why he's not in here right now. Your fourth line, I really could have put, if you're looking on YouTube, on your wings, I put question marks. I really could have put question marks for all three positions, even for your center. I put Ivan in there, and that's not even a guarantee. It's not. So really, I feel like your entire fourth line right now is up for grabs. And you have a lot of people who are going after it, but not like almost all of them are your Colorado Eagle guys. And it's fine to bring up Colorado Eagle players from time to time when they need to fill a role. They can do it. They can do it well sometimes. But you're not going to go into a season having your fourth line be all of those guys and rely on them for the duration of the season. So you have guys like Ivan. You have Nikita Prishapov. Ty Fellhaber is on the list. You have Gavin Brindley, who you just acquired. Taylor Makar. Maybe you have two Makars, both in the lineup. Chase Bradley, Cooper Gay, Zakhar Bardakov, Oscar Olausen. Can he take it over finally? TJ Tynan, Barry Boulay, Matthew Steinberg, Jason Poland, and that's all the guys I have in front of me on Puckpedia. That's not what you want. It's not. And say you did have to go into the season with that. When do you just see how it goes? And if it's not going the way that it should go, you have to start making moves now. And I don't think you want to do that. You did that last year. You don't want to do what you had to do last year of making moves all throughout the season to finally get the team that you want. You want to do the best. Sure, moves are going to be made during the season. That happens. But I don't think the Avalanche want to make as many moves as they needed to over the course of the season with the goalies and then leading, the Mikko Rantanen thing, and then at the trade deadline. I think they want to have as much of a sound team as possible going into this game one. And sure, if things aren't working out, then you can maybe move guys. You don't want all of those guys up there right now. You maybe move like one or two of them up from the AHL if need be to start a season. But I just don't think this is how the Avalanche want to have this team constructed right now. And does that, I'm sure there's some people looking at that and be like, that is making me panic. It shouldn't right now. Because there's a lot of guys out there. And of course, you can still make trades. Trades can happen where you can bring in depth guys. The Avalanche seem to have done well in that aspect lately of bringing in depth guys, because depth has always been a problem. And Chris McFarland can't sit there and say, last year because the Mikko Rantanen thing, like we need to be deeper, and then just address it last year and then not address it at all. I think he knows full well like he needs to address this glaring issue. You look at your defense, obviously your top pair remains the same. You have, I put Sam Girard and Josh Manson together, and then Burns and Malinsky. You can maneuver those guys around, but those are your 6, right? Those are your 6. Goalies remain the same. So overall, day one, really your top 9 are those guys that you see on the screen. Your fourth line is what needs to really be fleshed out here, because if you don't, and you do go into the season with a lot of Eagles players on that fourth line, you can almost guarantee they're not going to be rolled out there like a typical fourth line. And it might be situational. And what does that do? That puts a lot more pressure on those top guys again. And you don't want that either. You don't want those guys playing huge minutes to start a season. You want them playing bigger minutes later in the season. If you need to make up a game and you need to make up points and you want to rely on those guys then, but you can't do it early in the season, put so much pressure on them, logging so many minutes. And then, it's like they've played a full season halfway through the season already. The Avalanche know that. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they do have some sort of plan. It's just slow going right now. But at the same time, it's like, if nobody else is making moves, why aren't you? Get this thing done. Get it done. Get these guys signed. Know what team you have so you can get all these guys together. And as soon as, the training camp starts, away they go, which they'll have that by training camp. But I think as fans and as a podcaster, you want this figured out now. Doesn't always work that way. But just the visual of that, just the visual of how it was last year and looking back on it now and how that was a good, solid, well-rounded team. This team is a good team. And I know we're talking about a fourth line. Maybe that's the best problem to have is fourth line problems right now. Because if that's what you have, you can go out and find that. You can figure that out. And I think the Avalanche will. It's just a matter of when, not if. It's a matter of when. But again, just the visual of it, I think, is pretty striking to me. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks and how the Avalanche do complete this lineup. And that's what they have waiting for them is a fourth line that you can say, hey, these are our guys. And now let's take a bird's eye view of this team now. And then we'll do this again, maybe compare it to last year after we get that fourth line finished out, because I love the Colorado Eagle guys. Do I want to rely on them for a full season? I don't think anybody does. So that's where we're at with comparing the rosters from last year, late in the season, to this year. We saw Mackenzie Blackwood on both of those rosters. And I got a question from someone that kind of, it wasn't Blackwood specific, but it made me think of, we need a Mackenzie Blackwood era to start in Colorado. So I'll explain all of that. We'll do that next. All right, let's talk about FanDuel. And summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, or even betting the ponies over at Saratoga, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. And you're already following the sports action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? And with FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Just open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. All right, so I received a question from so it was one of our subtexters, I believe, and they just asked, who's your favorite Avalanche goalie other than Patrick Waugh? Patrick Waugh is, I would find it very hard to believe that any Avalanche fan has a favorite goalie other than Patrick Waugh. Like if you're including Waugh and say, hey, pick your favorite Avalanche goalie of all time, and you can include Patrick Waugh, I would guess 100 times out of 100, it's probably Patrick. I can't imagine anybody would say it's not him. If you are that person, I'd love to know the reason. But part of that reason is that why it's always Patrick Roy is because, yes, one, he's the greatest ever. And the other part of that is the Avalanche have had not the best luck with goalies over their duration of being a franchise as the Avalanche. And so that to answer the question, I want to get to the answering that first. And then get to the Blackwood stuff. Oddly enough, and this isn't too far out of bounds, I don't think, because again, like you don't have a solid, sound history of phenomenal goaltending outside of Patrick Roy and maybe Semyon Varlamov. So I would say outside of Patrick Roy, my favorite Avalanche goalie was probably Darcy Kemper. I mean, sure, it helps that the 1 year that he was with the Avalanche, he won the Stanley Cup. So that helps. But even outside of that, I've said this so many times on the show, like I just love Darcy Kemper's demeanor. We hear so many times about not goalies, just NHL players being monotone, being boring, like canned answers. You know exactly what they're going to say when they're asked a question. Like the uncomfortability that they have sometimes when they're being interviewed, just the awkwardness. That's not Darcy Kemper. Like he loves being in front of a microphone. He's always got a smile on his face. He'll answer every question and he'll be funny in answering questions. Like I just love that guy's how he interacts with people in the media. So that would be my answer. But it got me thinking about a Mackenzie Blackwood era and how great this would be for Avalanche fans to have another guy, because we're starting out on year one of a 5-year contract for him. And how great would it be if he can play all of those 5 years? And I know Nabokov is waiting and everybody's waiting for him to show up. But what if Mackenzie Blackwood just shows up and says, this kid can sit on the bench for a little while longer? And have another goalie that people can latch on to. And again, I think some do with Semyon Varlamov, but he didn't really he had good seasons. He had one great season with the Avalanche and he had good seasons overall. But I think, if Darcy Kemper's never going to be in that conversation because he just played that one season with the Avalanche of, greatest Avalanche goalies. Mackenzie Blackwood, if you can play those 5 years and maybe beyond and win a cup with this team, and put together great numbers, hey, maybe even get nominated for a Vezina. I'm saying you have to win one, but get nominated for a couple. Maybe you go play for Team Canada in the Olympics. Like that adds to the appeal. I just think the Avalanche and Avalanche fans need another name in the goalie arena when it comes to Colorado Avalanche history. Weirdly enough, so like Patrick Roy, 8 years with the Avalanche, 478 games played. Varlamov, 8 years, 389 games played. So Varlamov probably would have had to play another 2 seasons with the Avs, which would have been like those are two guys have played 8 years. Nobody, and that's the most. So Varlamov probably had to play another 2 years just to beat Roy in games played. And then you have Peter Budaj, who's at 242. He played six seasons with them. And then from like the names just are not household names as you go down the list here. And the ones that you do recognize were not with the team for very long. Your Philip Grubauer's played 3 years with them, 113 games. Pavel Francouz, 4 years, but he was the backup, so he played 73 games. The funny thing is, Mackenzie Blackwood right now, playing a little bit more than half a season for the Avalanche, had 37 games played, which is good for 26th overall. If Mackenzie Blackwood plays 50 games this year, which should very well be feasible, barring injury, that would put him at 87 games played. That would put him all the way up into 14th overall, and 4 games behind Jose Theodore for 13th. So he'd be knocking on the door, and then one more year after that, he'll be in the top 10. So you have guys that do not play long for this team that are up there in games played for the Avalanche. So that is not like, it's not a big deal if you crack the top 10 for the Colorado Avalanche in games played as a goalie. Where the big deal comes in is your numbers. What are you winning? Do you have cups? Do you have individual awards? And I think an era of Mackenzie Blackwood would just serve so much for Colorado Avalanche fans. Nobody's ever going to compare to Patrick Waugh, but it would be nice to have another, like, you know, and even this is maybe a bad comparison to saying like with Joe Sakic, nobody's ever going to compare to Joe Sakic. Well, maybe by the end of Nathan MacKinnon's career, he's going to be up there. He's almost exactly halfway done and almost exactly at the points that about halfway to where Joe Sakic was for points in franchise history. So by the time that's over with, he's going to be in that conversation you would expect. I'm not saying Mackenzie Blackwood is going to be in the Patrick Waugh conversation, but I want Mackenzie Blackwood to be in, like, there's no doubt. If you ask me that question again, who's your favorite goalie outside of Patrick Waugh? I want the answer to be no ifs, ands, or buts about it, Mackenzie Blackwood. Because we don't have that. Again, you could say Semyon Varlamov, but if someone says that, like, yeah, okay, he was good. But not just like he had a run with the Avalanche that was just like epic, and they were just playoff contenders every year, and you know, going deep in the playoffs. It wasn't that, and I just feel like Avalanche fans need that again in a goalie, because we have the position players that we rally behind easily. You can list them off, and everybody has their favorites. There's probably 5 guys on this team, maybe more, where everyone's like, that's my favorite player. And it's not necessarily Cam McCarr, or it's not necessarily Nathan MacKinnon. You can list off guys that like, that's my favorite guy. That's who I follow. You see it all the time with Artturi Lehkonen. People love Artturi Lehkonen. It's the same thing with Logan O'Connor. Let's get it. Let's get the goalie position in that conversation. We'll love nothing more than to have that in Avalanche Nation. Maybe this is the start of it. And this is not something that's going to happen right away, right? Like, we're at the beginning of this. I want this to be like how this goes for the Avs faithful and Mackenzie Blackwood, but we're years away from what I'm talking about being a thing. So we'll see where it goes. All right, one more break, and we come back. This jersey discussion that the Athletic put forward. We're going to do that next. All right, so over on The Athletic, they ranked best and worst jerseys for every team in the National Hockey League. I am not going to do all of that. If you subscribe to them, go check it out. But I will say what they gave their best and their worst. For their best, they gave their jerseys from 1997 through 2000, which are just the classic Avalanche jerseys. Like, I didn't go that route. I didn't go your normal everyday jersey. But if I did, that would be in the conversation. What they picked. Those jerseys are just legendary. Just the lines on them, the jagged lines looking like the mountains. You had the font on the back. The number font was just very aggressive. Loved it. Loved everything about those. I'd wish they'd bring them back. Those are awesome. Not that the ones today are bad. I like them, but they're kind of like what you would expect for a jersey of today, in my opinion. I like them. Love for them to go back to like the originals almost. Their worst jersey, and I think this is just too easy, is the jersey I'm wearing right now, and that is the Stadium Series outdoor game at the Air Force Base. They didn't like it. I know a lot of people hate this thing. If you listen to this show before, I don't mind these. Are they my favorite? No. Do I hate them? Absolutely not. They took a chance with these. Did it land? For a lot of people, no. I love that this was a one-off. Take it for what it's worth. Completely different I don't think any team has done anything close to this, which in a way makes it maybe a little bit more appealing. I loved the helmet for these with the logo on the one side and the number on the other. It's like, absolutely love those helmets. But jersey wise, I loved it. It's a change. It was different. So that's what they gave best and worst. I'll go to our subtext people here before I throw out mine. And let's see, we got Adam. Says a personal favorite jersey is the 2021 reverse retros. I love the way those looked with the maroon pants and the white helmets. Those were obviously when they went, they had the like you're saying, the burgundy colors and white on the Quebec Nordiques uniforms. Those are fantastic. Those were like, and at the time when people were ranking those reverse retros, those were like right at the top, number 1 or number 2. Those were phenomenal. His least favorite jersey is a 2020 Stadium Series jersey against the Kings. That is this one. Felt like they thought of the design last minute and had to chat GPT create the design for them. Only good thing about that design is maybe the helmet, but even that is a stretch for me. I get what he's saying, like last minute, but trust me, there was I wish I could find out where that article is. Maybe I'll try to find it. They did a ton of research, believe it or not, on this jersey, and what was working like for the kids almost. And they shopped it around in a way. And this is kind of what won out, believe it or not. I know that maybe is maybe a little bit difficult to believe, but they did. They put a lot of research and development into this Stadium Series jersey. Lisa said, ironically, my favorite and worst are both reverse retros. Love the first with the old Nordiques update to the burgundy and blue. Didn't like the second one at all. I get what they were going for, but not my thing. Aside from the reverse retros, I like the old school jerseys with the Yeti foot. I'm in the minority, but I also like the 2020 Stadium Series jersey. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa's on my side with the Stadium Series. Yeah, the second reverse retro, that one grew on me after a little while, but not my favorite. To me, like I just the burgundy and blue just color combination is phenomenal. And when they don't have that as like the main color combination, to me, it takes away a little bit. And I think that's what it did in that second reverse retro. Don't hate it, but definitely not my favorite. I would say, like, I don't think there's even the one that I'm going to get to about that's my least favorite. It's ugly, but I don't completely hate it where I would never wear it. I have jerseys of it and I do wear it. Let's see. We got Zach here. Did he put any? No, Zach did not put anything in. I apologize. Madam Battleaxe says, I was never a big fan of the Nordiques sweater, but I always have love for the home sweater with the 90s and the Yeti foot. Yeah, so I'm assuming she's saying the Nordiques one of the reverse retro. I really hope she's not saying the Quebec ones, because those are absolutely phenomenal. Let's see. Kay says her favorite is the diagonal Colorado maroon one, so the burgundy one. She does not like the current third jerseys, the one that they've had for a number of years, which rumors are they're swapping that out this year for year 30. I don't know if that's true or not. But the current one, she does not like those. And maybe that's just because they've been around for so long. They've just worn their welcome. And favorite of them all, she puts down the Nordiques reverse retro. Can't argue with any of that. Hoffacorn says, worst for me has to be the red jersey with the diagonal collar. The one that Kate just said is her favorite. Hoffacorn hates that one. Best for me is the current regular home jersey. Just like the base, he says, I'm basic like that. And that's a good maybe way to describe that is basic. It's not bad. It's basic, but he likes that one. Adam says best is the white and burgundy Quebec throwbacks. Worst is the blueberries, which is the maroon, the burgundy one, Colorado diagonal, just blue, but not your typical. Yeah, they're just known as the blueberry jerseys. I didn't mind that one, believe it or not. I still have a Matt Duchene jersey in the blueberries. I do. Brandon says, where's he got his best jersey? He likes the current third jersey. That's his favorite. This is what I love. Everybody has their own likes and dislikes. His worst is any away jersey. So he just does not like white jerseys, which I tend to go towards the dark jerseys myself. But if there's a good looking like white jersey, like I think the Kraken white jerseys are really good. I think they look really good. But for the most part, I agree with him. Like the white ones, they don't do a ton for me. And then Vargar says, let's see, he's got, so his top 3 Avs were the 96 one, the 96 dark ones when it was their away jersey. The Adidas alternate navy with the triangle logo, that's that current one, and the Adidas home jerseys from 2022. And the worst was the Reebok Unibron with the terrible piping, and not a fan of the reverse retros with the C on the crest. That was the second reverse retro. The one that he just said is his worst, or the one that he likes the least, is the one that I agree with, that I think is the worst. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to throw it up here on the screen. By the way, where I pulled these images from, I don't know why, they have Cody McLeod on both jerseys. Very weird. But that one for me is, I think, the Avalanche worst jersey, where the piping kind of comes from the collar like down, almost like a Denver Broncos thing. Like when Denver changed their uniforms and went to that, the navy blue and orange, and the orange kind of came from the collars down. I don't know if that's what they were going for here, but it's just not a good look. It's not clean. It's just it makes the crest of the A just kind of like smushed. I don't like it. It doesn't flow. And then, the blue ones maybe are a little bit better, but the white ones just looked, it's almost too busy in a way. So I completely agree with Vargar there that one, if you're watching on YouTube, it's up on your screen. That one to me, I think is the worst Avalanche jersey that they've come out with. Now, do I have some? Yes, I do. And would I wear it? Yes, I would. I don't think it's so bad where it's like, oh, just put it away. And I mean, if I like this one that I'm wearing now, I don't think the Avalanche can really come out with anything that's horrendous. But that one and the black lettering on the back, it didn't go with the rest of. That's the only thing. And I know they've done black lettering in the past, but for some reason, maybe it just stuck out a little bit more because I just didn't like the overall aesthetic of this jersey. I don't know. Didn't like it. For their best jersey, nobody said this one, which surprised me a little bit. But when I heard that the Avalanche were having their first outdoor game, I checked daily to get any updates on what their jersey was going to look like. Because that's really what like outdoor games were. They were still a little bit newer, and they were doing more games outdoors. And the Avalanche finally got an outdoor game. It was going to be against the Detroit Red Wings. I just woke up every morning just seeing if there was going to be news on when the reveal was going to be. And then it happened. And when I saw it, it was Gabe Landeskog. He was on, at Coors Field. They had a big reveal. And I was like, that is everything that I have wanted an outdoor jersey, Colorado Avalanche, something new to be. So let me get rid of that. There it is. If you're, again, watching on YouTube, I absolutely love that. And while we were saying like white jerseys, I'm not like the biggest fan. If they're done right, they're great. That is a great jersey right there. You have the Colorado C in the middle. You have your burgundy and blue and gray on the sleeves. This picture doesn't do the numbers on the sleeve justice because the numbers on the sleeves are huge. I think they did that because you're in the Stadium Series and, people are far away. Maybe give them as much of a visual aid as possible. So have your numbers on the sleeves extra large. But you have the black lining on the bottom of it. You have the 5280 around the collar, Stadium Series logo on one shoulder, Avs logo on the other shoulder. That to me is my favorite and best Colorado Avalanche jersey that they have had. And it helps that they played this game, I mentioned this the other day, on my birthday. Lost the game, I get it, but they played it on my birthday. But everything about that, just the announcement of the outdoor game, I was just like, what's the jersey going to look like from day one? And in my opinion, they knocked this out of the park. So without a doubt, that is my absolute favorite Colorado Avalanche jersey, bar none. And I only own one. It's where is it? It's over there. It's a Gabe Landeskog one. And they're probably difficult to get now, but you probably have methods. People want to have methods to go get it, but I treasure that one. Absolutely love that one by far. So throw it out there because I love this conversation. There's no wrong answers. Whatever you love is you love that jersey. If it's this one, you love it for a reason. If there's ones that you don't like, I want to know, and there's no wrong answers. So there you go. All right, we're going to wrap this up. So that's going to do it for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. We'll be back on Wednesday with a brand new episode. Anything going on between now and then, we'll be talking about that on Wednesday's episode. So to be sure to tune in to that. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in again and making it your first listen. Very much appreciated. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Well, you will have made it through 2 24-hour periods where Sidney Crosby's that much closer.